now you've got the fentanyl problem. And so fentanyl, I think, is that at an entirely different magnitude. I mean, how big of a factor is that in real life? And how does that money impact the ability to come up with a solution? Like, have you experienced in working in the FBI or in Border Patrol, hey, here's a really common sense solution, but you've got legitimate American business interests who profit off of this and they actively work against the solution?
Yeah, so that's all great questions. And that also goes into the other question about, hey, should we, label the cartels a terrorist organization? Look, I believe there's pros and cons to that. What I always say is, look, I don't care what you call them, but we need to go after the cartels with the same level of commitment, strategy, and resources that we do terrorist organizations. The traditional criminal prosecutorial method that DOJ, the FBI, has been using for 3-4 decades, it's failed for 3 or 4 decades. I've been there. I spent 20 years in the FBI, and I'm telling you, it's been a colossal failure how the United States government has gone after the cartels. We've used the same method that we used to go after the mob, back in the 70s and 80s. That doesn't work going after the cartels. The only thing that's happened in the past 3 or 4 decades is the cartels have become stronger, more powerful, and more influential, and their bank accounts have grown, and their ability to push drugs across the border have increased, and their criminal enterprise has grown globally. So clearly that should tell our government that our strategy has been a colossal failure. And I refer to the Bill Barr approach, the Plan Colombia style, where we go in. The best case scenario is we would go together with Mexico and we would use the military. We would use precision, surgical, kinetic military operations to go at the heart of the cartels. The reality is we know where the cartels are. We know who the cartels are. We know where they operate. We know where the ports of entry are, where they're getting the fentanyl from the precursor chemicals from China. We know all of that. We have that intelligence. So if we actually changed our strategy and took the fight to the cartels, we could defeat them. Here's the problem going to be. The problem is going to be in Mexico. That's where a lot of the money is going. That's where a lot of the corruption goes. But I think we can overcome that.
So why don't we? I mean, if the money goes to Mexico and it's a drain on our resources, it's a drain on our public assistance. I mean, the money, and Seamus referenced the stats that you write in your letter, those are staggering. But the research we've done to prepare for this, illegal immigration generally costs us $450 billion in terms of the drain on taxpayer resources. And that's not counting the money that gets sent that's made legally and sent back to other countries in remittances. Mexico is getting something like $50 billion in remittances each year. And then you have tech companies in the United States that make money off of helping process that. So there's a lot of financial incentives off of the status quo that people benefit from here. But if the solution is simply go after the cartels, how come it doesn't happen?
Well, so look, there's a lot to unpack there, a lot of good points. Let's talk on our side. You're absolutely right. The Chamber of Commerce, for example, a lot of Republicans, right? They'll have one hand out with making a stop sign saying stop coming illegal immigrants. With the other hand, they're waving them in, right? Because they want the cheap labor. So there's plenty of blame to go around. Right now, I say, hey, look, the Democrats caused the problem, but right now the Republicans are refusing to fix it. And of course, we know the corruption on the Mexico side. Right now, I think the issue is the reason why more is not being done is because there's 2 perceived political benefits right now that the Democratic Party see. Remember, on day one, President Biden, what's one of the first things he did among his 94 executive orders to destroy our borders is he stopped what had been enacted under President Trump. And once again, illegal aliens are counted as part of the census. So there's a real redistricting that's going to happen in the favor of the Democratic Party. The second perceived political benefit is they believe every single illegal alien that they find a pathway to citizenship is going to equate to a Democratic vote. Now, look, I'm not on board on the replacement theory. That's too far to stretch for me. But those 2 things that I talked about, this is about power and votes for the Democratic Party. There's no other justification. There's no other rationale of why they would literally open our borders up unless they thought it was going to equate to a permanent power for them.